Are you addicted to food?
Hi, it's me. Leave a message.
I know you're probably busy having mind-blowing sex right now, but I feel that you need to know your good friend Miranda Hobbs has just taken a piece of cake out of the garbage and eaten it. You'll probably need this information when you check me into the Betty Crocker Clinic.
In that clip from Sex and the City, Miranda ended up pouring dish soap all over her chocolate cake to prevent herself from eating the whole darn thing. So quick show of hands, and be honest, fess up. How many of you have actually retrieved something from the trash and eaten it? Come on. Really? Seriously? That's it? I'm one of the only ones? Well, guilty is charged, but the good news is it might not be our fault. My first guest says your brain chemistry might be actually working against you and making you addicted to food. So please welcome Dr. Pam Peeke. She's a physician and expert in the science of nutrition and metabolism and author of a brand new book called The Hunger Fix, which explains the science of food addiction and how we can all overcome it. Hi, Pam. Nice to see you.
So wonderful to see you.
How are you? So we've made tremendous strides and progress when it comes to the science of food addiction. I mean, we're right at a critical point, and breakthroughs are actually happening, aren't they?
Right and left. For years, all of us who are experts in science would listen to our patients, and they would come in and they would sound like druggies. They would say, I can't get off this stuff. Withdrawal is killing me. I need to score some more. For a while, I thought they were talking about, you know, what, alcohol, drugs? And they said, no, a cupcake. And I said, really? A cupcake?
And doctors really didn't take them seriously,
no,
right?
I mean, well, there was this awkward silence. I wonder if there's something there. We didn't have the scientific tools to look into the brain to be able to find the answer. Lo and behold, we have.
Well, what is the difference between someone who just likes to eat and someone who's an actual food addict?
So, if you're looking at a food lover versus a food addict, a food lover would eat something like this, maybe even share it, and feel good afterwards.
That's it. That's like a nuclear cupcake.
And seriously, it's the nuclear cupcake. And then, you know, wake up in the morning, do a spin class, work it off, get over it already, right? A food addict would take something like this, right? And they would eat it, and they would continue to eat, and because they can't get enough satisfaction from this, they would obsess about it. This would be associated with blame, shame, and guilt. And most importantly, when they eat something like this, they're completely out of control.
Well, sometimes it's psychological, because I know that my friends and I, sometimes if we eat something bad, then we say, oh, we blew it for the day. We're just going to eat everything and start over tomorrow. So that's more of a psychological thing. But a food addict actually has things happening in their brain chemistry,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. They actually have organic changes happening because they're constantly exposed to what we call, you know, these false fixes, these combinations of foods.
Yeah, tell us about the particular foods that make us crave certain things.
Well,
because
you know,
there are categories, right?
Okay. Katie, it's not tuna on a bed of greens that we're running for when we have a really crappy day.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know what I mean? It's always sugary, starchy, fatty, salty food combinations. And so whatever kind of combination, sometimes they're pure, sometimes they're put together. What they do is they go to the reward center in the brain and they hijack it.
Well, let's look at these brain scans, because I know, Pam, you brought 3 different scans. And one is sort of a normal brain scan with the dopamine level. One is a brain that is addicted to cocaine, and one is the brain of an obese person, right? So let's talk about, so that's a normal brain.
Okay, so there's your normal brain. You see all that little orange stuff in there? All right, so this is a woman who's just been told that her most favorite pair of shoes is now 75% off, all right? And it's just like, whoa, it's squirting out, and you're seeing that dopamine is nothing more than a brain chemical associated with reward and pleasure. Let's get the shoes.
Right.
Okay?
Okay,
now let's see the next one. Now, a cocaine, or it could be anyone. It could be someone who's an alcoholic, whomever. Now, you tell them, you cue them up the same way, saying, wow, we're a whole bunch of cocaine coming your way, whole bunch of wine coming your way, whatever. All right? Now, I want you to look at the difference. See that orange area?
Right.
Look at the one in the middle, almost no orange, because they're trying to get the dopamine secreted and into the body. They can't, because of organic changes that have happened to the receptors that make it impossible for them to be able to get as much dopamine as that normal person
got from the shoes. So do you have to have more and more drugs to fire up that dopamine in your brain?
Absolutely. So what ends up happening is one hit doesn't do it. Suddenly two doesn't. Then 3, 4, 5, 6. There's no period at the end of the sentence. It's a vicious cycle. Now let's look at the obese person. Look at that, the same as the drug addicted or the alcoholic. What we find there is over time, when you've been overloaded, overstimulated with all of these sugary, starchy, fatty, salty kind of foods, you have the same organic changes as someone with any other addiction, whether it's alcoholism or cocaine. They can barely get the dopamine out. So, one cupcake, forget it. They need 20 of them.
And what about people who say, oh, please, give me a break. Just try exercising a little willpower here.
Okay.
Step away from the chocolate cake.
When people say, oh, come on, moderation, it's just a cupcake, my answer to them is moderation is a moot point in full-on blowout addiction of any kind. And this is huge groundbreaking news in food. Because for the longest time, we've blown it off like it's, oh, come on, please. And you hear that word, just. It's just a cupcake. It's just a piece of pizza. Really? Here, it's just a little heroin. Just a little, you know, I mean, it's just a glass of wine for an alcoholic. Well, you have to understand, we have to take it seriously now because our brains have been hijacked. In the reward system, we need to reclaim them and get that prefrontal cortex back in action.
Well, coming up next, we're going to meet a woman who says she's struggling with a sugar addiction, and we're going to hear how she's trying to kick the habit.
When I cook with sugar. Rice with sugar, green beans with sugar, spaghetti with sugar, meatloaf with sugar, fried chicken with sugar. Once you fry it, dip it out and sprinkle a little sugar on it. It just has to be sweet.
With Dr. Pam Peeke, author of The Hunger Fix, who's been helping Shayla break what she calls a food addiction, and she's going to show us how we all can do that. Now, earlier we had some of our audience members take a quiz before the show, and it turns out 40% of you all have symptoms of food addiction. And Dr. Peeke has developed a 3-step plan to break that. And the first stage is detox. And before we get to detox, I should mention these brain chemicals that happen with food. You can be, they can affect people who aren't full-blown addicts, but they can affect sort of normal weight people or people who are struggling just a little bit in terms of how they make choices, right?
Katie, you're absolutely right. There's a full spectrum from people who have really full-on blowout, food addiction like Shayla, and to people who have mild. And they may have a few symptoms, but they're working on it. And you could be any size. You could be a size 0, you could be a size 22. It doesn't matter. That relationship between food and addiction affects just about everyone.
And especially considering 2/3 of the population is overweight or obese in this country. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the detox plan. The first is throw it away. Get it out of there, right?
Pitch it. You're looking at the sugary, starchy, fatty, salty combos. Research shows from the National Institutes of Health that it's the cues that get you going. It's the cues. So when you actually have it, you're getting some reward, but the cue is what really gets you going. And we are in a landmine of cues.
And that's why food addiction is so tough to break. It's not like you can stay away from drugs and the people who do drugs, but food is all around us, and we need it to survive.
Which is why we need a powerful prefrontal cortex to be able to rein it in and say, I know what I need to do and make the right choice.
Because I know these are foods, this is like the methadone of foods, right?
Absolutely, it is. And that means that your detox and your recovery is going to be more gentle, because what we're doing is giving you foods that naturally boost dopamine, naturally boost it. So what you're really looking for here are your beans, fruits, vegetables, seafood and fish, and meats that actually increase the amount of 2 types of precursors to dopamine, tyrosine and phenylalanine. So believe it or not, you're sort of medicating with wonderful whole foods.
And this is part of the detox process.
Absolutely.
Shayla, did this help you eating some of these foods like bananas and watermelon? Did it cut your craving for sugar?
It cut my craving for sugar. I still crave sugar though, Katie, but I crave the right sugar. I crave watermelon, bananas, and grapes and oranges, and I eat a lot of it.
Well,
and
that's good.
It's more healthier.
All right, well, that's a step in the right direction,
and she's transitioning in the right direction.
Which is so great. And then now this is recovery. And you say when you wake up in the morning, kind of visualize what you're going to eat for the day so you don't make bad choices, right? So your prefrontal cortex isn't working against you.
Absolutely. Take that prefrontal cortex, that's the brain CEO and the braking mechanism, and then Only 24 hours at a time. That's all I allow Shayla. Don't be thinking about 9 years from now. 24
She's
hours
tough,
at a
Shayla.
time.
She is very tough.
That's right.
But why
Yes,
does
sir.
this help? Because this sort
Okay.
of plans out your day, and it keeps you from making bad choices.
Right. Dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Reward, pleasure, reward, pleasure. You have combinations of protein and fiber, and there's a little secret for all of you from the book, and that is combinations of natural protein and fiber kill carb cravings. You feel satisfied, wonderful. What could be simpler than what we're putting together here? A little bit of protein and fiber. It's fabulous.
And these are actual foods, Pam, that cut off your hunger gene.
Absolutely.
How so?
Okay, well, there's brand new research that shows that you've got all these genes. You could actually turn them on and off in terms of what they tell the rest of the body, including addiction. You really want to be able to rein it in and stay on course. So you've got the vitamin C that actually help you to be able to not only reinforce what's going on in the prefrontal cortex, but rein in that addictive urge.
These things all sort of keep you more satiated. Is that the deal?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And they also help dampen down the genes throughout your body that actually ramp up that appetite, hunger, and the addiction. Can you imagine you're medicating with food?
So we're talking about things like kale. This is all vitamin C.
Leafy greens,
Leafy greens. This is
B
high in
vitamins.
B12.
Absolutely, the B vitamins for the brain. And these actually, all the leafy greens are what we call methyl donors. What they do is they just come over to the gene, slap it down, and say, okay, if you're a gene for obesity, diabetes, or heart disease, slap down.
So Shayla, can you learn to like this as much as pound cake?
Yes, I'm learning.
Okay, good. That's fantastic. Well, we're proud of you.
It's a journey.
I want Shayla to come back. I want you to come back after you've dropped more weight, and we can celebrate your success.
Amen.
How about that? Okay, that sounds great. Well, Pam, thank you so much. And everyone, by the way, is going home with Pam's new book called The Hunger Fix. And if you want to find out... if you all are addicted to food, you can take a quiz, that same quiz our studio audience did, at katiecouric.com. Now.